Hey guys, Butts here, and today I want to talk about this like life loop character I've been playing. This build's kind of been on my bucket list for a really long time. I've never really liked how squishy like the ward loop characters are, so this is kind of like making a tanky version of that, right? And now with like gear having so much ES, like so much life, I thought now would be a good time to do it because essentially what we're doing is we're getting our life total ridiculously high, and then we are recouping over 100% of our life total. I'm going to quickly leave this map because it's going to get super annoying, right? But yeah, let me continue. I could talk about the build. Um, so essentially, we have a ton of life, and then we end up with around like 130 to 140 recoup. So like once we get out of this like initial neck of the woods, I have this in my weapon swap just because we don't need to do this enduring cry thing. It just makes it safer. I just have this here because we don't have sockets. But like, so I start the loop, I switch back, and I'm going to turn it back off because I know it's going to get really annoying. But essentially, then once the loop's going, and once we get out of that initial, like, we take 14,000 damage on that first second. But once we're out of that, we're going to start overhealing a ton just because our recoup is greater than 100%. And then since we are an Inquisitor, we also have upwards of, I forget what it is. It's like it's thousands of life regenerated a second and thousands of ES regenerated a second. Our ES is mostly going to be low, but it will still be like a huge buffer for damage. So essentially, we're getting all of this recoup because of the new reflected rings. We can get 33 up to 36 or 37% here, and then you can get a ton here, and then you can use an impossible escape to get even more over here. And then since that's really all you can get, because I have to use Heartbound loop to like create this this whole loop, there's just like I couldn't figure out a different way. I really don't want to have to use this and all these two dusts like the typical ward loop builds do, but I just could not figure out a different way with the timing and such. But yeah, so we have all those sources of recoup. And since that's not really 100%, but it's relatively close, you can do things to scale recovery rate, which will like recovery rate is like a multiplier for things like life leech, life regen, and then recoup. I'm using Transcendent Flesh here, which gives a ton, and then I'm using a Watcher's Eye for Vitality, which is 14%. It goes up to 15, I believe. Um, so we end up with like about a like 110, I think, with that. But then a really cool trick I saw from somebody on Reddit was talking about with Combs Binding and automation plus righteous fire getting turned off with like a flask that has this remove ignite effect, right? Like, so I was thinking what's really cool about that is you can use this Pantheon here, which says 20% increased recovery rate of life and ES if you stop taking damage over time recently. So when I'm like actually in combat, I crit all the time because this build's like mostly crit capped, I think. But this will turn off a righteous fire, which gets turned back on constantly. So it'll be down like a lot of the time, but what it will do is it'll give us 20% more recovery rate, which again multiplies our recoup, our regen. So it's like we have all these more multipliers on our recovery, which scales our life leech, our regen through Pious Path, and then our recoup. So scaling recovery rate is awesome for this because it literally scales three different layers of defense. I mean, this is the same layer of defense, it's recovery, right? But it's you get what I'm saying. Um, yeah, I've always wanted to build like kind of build this has kind of been like a white whale of mine because Word Loop's really cool. I just like look at their fizz max hit and then just like their generic max hit, and it just kind of terrifies me. So it's like I just don't want to be like dying constantly. So I tried to make a version that could get hit by like a truck, and it's still not as tanky as I would like it, but without drastically hurting the damage further, I think this is like pretty reasonably tanky. You get way more damage if you did something like what is the staff the triple damage elemental staff or dual wielding, but like losing this I just lose so much of my life, right? So I'm making some sacrifices because I want to be beefy, essentially. Yeah, I've had a ton of fun so far. I don't think this is the proper way to build this character. If something about it just doesn't feel like it feels good to play, I don't know that Inquisitor makes the most sense. I was honestly thinking like something like even like Guardian or Scion because he has that node where it makes your auras give you 5% increased recovery rate. Like the auras implicitly gain that effect. So if you scale aura effect or use a lot of auras, you essentially scale your recovery rate, which is the whole idea of this. Because you don't really need the recovery because, so like let's say I start this loop, and I'm taking 14,000 damage a second. So that 14,000 is going to be regenerated. Well, first it's going to get multiplied, I think, up to like around like 18,000 or so. And then over 3 seconds, I'm going to get all that back. So if I'm recovering like thousands upon thousands of life a second, I don't really know that I need the recovery from Inquisitor. And it's possible I just want like raw mitigation from something like Jug. Um, and since we are using our Forbidden Right to proc like most of our cast and damage taken setup, like our skeleton deals us about 1,000. Sorry, I was trying to find it. Our skeleton deals us about 1,000 because we have no armor on this character. We still do get to use endurance charges. We have 5. We're using inexorable, so when we're hit, we'll go up to 5. Then we have another one down here. But as long as we have no armor, we're only mitigating like 20% of our fizz hit, and this is 1,200. And that being around 1,000 is nice because it means that our Forbidden Right only needs to deal us at 2,000 damage for it to proc our level 20 cast and damage takens, which is cool because that means that we're allowed to have Chaos Res. We're allowed to have, and then since we're splitting it like that, we're allowed to have like decent fizz mitigation. I know 20% is not a lot, but Ward Loop generally is not allowed to have any. And we obviously have a much, 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 much larger hit pool. So that's kind of the idea of the build. I was originally using like the projectiles like Ice Spear and Creeping Frost, or you could use Blazing Salvo, etc. Like skills don't really matter, right? Unlike what you use here, but I've liked Ice Nova and Vortex the most so far. You could also do Corpse skills because like you have a flex slot to trigger like Desecrate. I'm triggering Frostbolt like over here along with my Forbidden Right. Side note, Forbidden Right probably does like a decent amount of damage in this because it's scaled by life. We have a shit ton of life, right? Yeah. I don't know if I can have anything else to add because it's like that's kind of the general idea. I just wanted to talk about it because I think there are a lot of different ways to build. I keep calling it Ward Loop, but I don't know what else to call it. Skeleton Loop, Skeletor Loop. I don't know, but you don't have to do it with the ward setup. Like there are ways to just either recoup through it, like what we're doing here, or do something very silly, like be a chieftain and scale Warcry buff effect and Enduring Cry, and then get upwards of 10,000 life regenerated a second, and then like maybe like 50% recoup or something, because that's like pretty reasonable to get. And then you just literally chew through this, like you have so much regen that you just brute force past it. It doesn't matter, because like if you get up to like 10,000 life and you have an Enduring Cry that restores 30% of your life a second, that's just like a shit ton of life, right? So, there's like a lot of different ways I think you could do this. This was just kind of where I landed, where I wanted to try it. And I kind of just wanted to talk about it and like maybe get some other ideas out there if anybody else wants to try working on this archetype. Because I think it's a very interesting archetype, and I don't consider it solved. Like I don't think Ward Loop is, I don't think it's a very good build, just because it has to be made so papery to be what it is. And I'm not saying my version is better. It's just like, I just think that there are other ways to build it that I would like people to maybe explore if they're interested. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. That's pretty much it. I can include my POB that I currently have in the show notes, but this character is far from done. I still have a lot of changes I'd like to make, and I'm still just kind of working through it. Like, I literally just put on the shield. Like I was originally dual wielding. I was originally using Annihilating Light, but fixing your resistances and then getting enough life with that was like pretty problematic because yeah, it's just, you do want to get to like a certain amount of life so that this is not incredibly uncomfortable. Originally I had to use Enduring Cry or I would die, because this gives you 20% of your life regenerate a second, and it was getting me just like enough. Like I don't need this any longer. I can just do this without killing myself. But I don't know if I'm allowed to say kill myself on YouTube. You'd probably be mad at me about that. But God, I need to turn it off. I can't press anything. Yeah. But I think that's it. I rambled definitely. It was fine. Nah, I rambled. But yeah. Like I said, I'll leave my PV. Sorry. But I'll catch you guys later. Let me know if you have any cool ideas or any other things that I may have missed. Because I literally just figured out like the Transcendence thing very recently, and then the Pantheon thing like the other day. So it's like kind of just like finding tech to add to this. But yeah, so any ideas, very welcome. Well, see you guys.